Ciao tutti! I am so excited for you to join me on this journey of gratitude stories, where I gather stories of others who have had gratitude expressed face to face, how it's made a difference in their life. You can make a difference every single day expressing gratitude. Join me on this journey. Don't wait to express gratitude today. Ciao a tutti, it's me, KP Speaks, and today I have somebody who knows a lot about wealth, not only physical wealth and money, but also emotional and I would say family wealth. I have Andrew Van Buren with me, and he is a podcast host as well as the founder of Aventus Wealth. Andrew, thank you so much for joining me. Will you tell us a little bit about what you do for work and also with your passions in life?
Absolutely. Thanks for having me. This is going to be a lot of fun. So I started Aventus Wealth, and it started as a traditional kind of financial planning advisory firm and has evolved to more kind of like a consulting firm, where we kind of talk about the mindset behind money, and we really focus on outcomes and results. So what it is that we're trying to do and work backwards from there, as opposed to kind of getting lost in what's happening now. We always start with the end in mind and work back. And then my passion project, it's been so much fun that I started, is the Nitty Gritty podcast. And we interview people and we try to get down, as the title says, to the nitty gritty with them and get the real story behind whether it's their success, whether it's kind of addressing what society would consider a taboo subject or topic, and really kind of bringing it open, having an honest conversation about it. And our hope with the whole podcast is that our listeners can listen to it, feel motivated and inspired, and see that all these fabulous people that we've talked to are normal, everyday people that have simply taken action, and they've done it consistently, and it's turned into kind of what they have now.
I have listened to your podcast. In fact, that's how I found you. I think it's such a fun idea, and a lot of your guests are high profile people. So how do you get them to come onto your podcast?
Honestly, super grateful. People are really, really genuinely nice. I love the mindset, the fixed versus growth mindset, scarcity versus abundance. And what I've found in my career and in life is the more successful people get, typically the more kind of abundance mentality they have, meaning they are willing and wanting to kind of give back. And we've been really fortunate because we've just asked people that we know and friends of friends and asked them to come on the podcast, and they've all been very willing to come and just hang out with us for a little bit, knowing that there's probably nothing that they're going to get out of it. But it's been awesome, and we've been really fortunate to be introduced to some great people. And it's fun because at the end of the interviews, we leave like best friends with them. And so we've been able to create like lasting friendships with a lot of our guests.
What I think is great is what you said, the abundance mindset. When I started my own business, especially, I do Italian cooking classes as a passion. I don't make any money doing it. But I remember reaching out to some high profile on Instagram, and they wouldn't even give me the time of day. Literally said, I cost $250 an hour to even give you advice. And from that moment on, I decided I will never be that person. I will always be available to whoever needs my help. And I'm grateful for that experience, because I was so dumbfounded that they couldn't remember that they started where I was at. And so I think it's amazing that you're finding these people that have the abundance mindset, that are willing to come on and have a great time. And then you create this connection, this friendship, and you can feel it through your podcast, that you guys are getting along, that you're learning with each other. And you're also not just, I've learned with your podcast that, like you said, you get to know the person almost a little bit intimately, and you see they're real people.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that a lot. And so how did you get into doing Aventus Wealth? What drew you to helping people with their finances?
So really quick on the nitty gritty, part of the reason we do all of our interviews live is that reason, to have that live connection with somebody, because you can't just, there's something that you can't replace sitting across from someone, right?
Mm-hmm.
Looking them in the eyes, you know, even just the fact of giving them a hug before you talk, like little things like that create this kind of bond. And a lot of comments that we get about the podcast are, it feels like we're just in a living room hanging out with a bunch of friends having a conversation. And that's kind of our whole purpose of how the style of how we do it.
Mm-hmm.
As far as Aventus, so growing up, I was always the call it what you want. My family always made fun of me because I've never read a book like for fun. So I'd go on family vacations and it was business books or money books or self-help. I mean, I was always just reading these really, to them, boring books. But for some reason, at a really young age, there was always something that attracted me to kind of learning how things worked. And for me, with money, it was more about learning how money worked as opposed to having it, because I would see people and I could see different businesses and they were successful by doing different things. And I was always fascinated on how they got started and why they got started. Like my favorite thing to do is, even back then when I was in high school, was to find people and go to lunch with them and just pick their brain, just find out who they are and what they did. And that just naturally led to starting in the financial world. And even in that world, I tend to work with entrepreneurs and business owners because I genuinely enjoy being around them. They talk about you are the sum of the 5 people you surround yourself with the most. So I try to keep myself surrounded with really inspiring, motivating people that are just achieving incredible things in life.
So I have a question for you then. What do you do when you get super tired and you just are like, I'm done? I mean, you're a dad, you have littles.
Yes.
Uh, what do you lean on?
So for me, and it's something I've learned just the last couple of years, it's been awesome, is, so I talk with clients, I talk about strategy, structure, and accountability. And you have to have a structure sufficient to the resistance. So as far as getting tired, being a dad with young kids, there's a couple of things that are really important for me to do that. One is having a morning routine. So starting my day off intentionally. You know, you have your self time to, you know, some people will meditate, some people just have kind of brainstorming time. Get up, move your body, get moving a little bit. That's my most productive time, is early in the morning. And so for me, as long as I kind of have that routine to get up and get my body and my mind moving, that helps a lot. And then honestly, the second thing is structuring my time in such a way that I can be extremely focused. So if I have a task to get done, I'll block out 1 hour and I'm only going to focus on that one thing. And then if I get that done, I can take off the rest of I can maybe take off a little bit of extra time. And so time blocking my day and my weeks has been probably my secret tool that has allowed me to accomplish more. And there's a quote that one of my business coaches told me as we were kind of working through my business. And she said, show me your budget and I'll show you what's important to you. Because we were talking about different things in work. And she was specifically talking about like marketing budget, like how much money are you spending on marketing? Because I was always talking about, oh, I want to do this and I have this plan to grow. And she said, show me your budget. And there was no dollars specifically going towards those activities. And she said, well, it can't be that important to you. And the same thing is true for me. Getting tired, most rejuvenating thing I can do is spend time with my family and my kids. And so when they say, show me your budget, I schedule time to be with my family, and nothing gets over that. Like early in my career, when you're getting started, you'll talk, especially in the financial world, you talk to anybody who can fog a mirror. I mean, it is anyone and everyone who will meet with you. If you have to go to their house, you go to their house. If you have to meet with them at 8:00 at night, you meet with them at 8:00 at night. But I got to the point where I set this structure, I set these boundaries to where it was non-negotiable. And I lost some really big clients because the only time they wanted to meet was in the evening. But I simply said, you know what, that's my time with my family, and I'm not going to move off of that. Mm-hmm. And so by having that, by being intentional about my day and my weeks, I think that's what keeps me excited and moving forward. And the last thing is, I love what I do. And so I've never, ever I seriously, I've never driven to work dreading going to work. Like, I love going to work. I love doing what I do. And I try to make sure that I always keep that joy in it.
Thank you for sharing that. I think it will be extremely valuable for those who are watching. And I know it's helped me out and it'll help out. I think a lot of men especially are underrepresented in taking care of themselves, in knowing what to do when they're dealt the card of high stress, being a dad, working full time. What do they do to take care of themselves?
You have to kind of be a man and be masculine and just kind of power through it. Like, I remember one of the most powerful interviews we've done was with Corey Stevens of Taft Shoes, and on our podcast. And he talked about how, mental health, how real it is, because he's been open about kind of his battles, but he's like, so many times as men and in business and entrepreneurs, it's like, oh, just man up and push through it. And that's kind of the general consensus on what you need to do. But you have to take time for yourself. You have to work on yourself. You have to be willing to admit and address those areas that, might be causing pain, or the trauma in the past, or whatever those things are. And being willing to be open to that will change everything about what you're doing.
I completely agree. So you mentioned that when you do your podcast, you do it face to face, because that way there's connection. So I'm wondering, this being gratitude stories, one of my number one questions is if anyone has ever expressed gratitude to you face to face, and if it impacted you in any way, and what did they say, or what was that moment for you?
Oh, that's such a good question. There have been, I'm really fortunate and blessed that I have a lot of people, a great team around me. But I would think one of the stories that's been the most impactful for me was I'll never forget sitting across the table from a family. We were going through kind of a financial plan for them. And this was a family, they'd grown up, raised their family, and they never ever considered themselves wealthy. They were always very aware of finances. And I remember when we sat down and we walked through a plan, like I said, strategy, structure, accountability. And basically what we were able to come to the conclusion of is they had set themselves up in such a way that they could retire. And they never thought they were going to be able to retire. They thought that they were going to work until the day they died. And they literally broke down in tears as I said, you can stop working today. And both the husband and the wife literally started to cry and just said, thank you so much. We never thought this was going to be a reality for us. Mm-hmm. And playing some small part, what's awesome about what I do is I had nothing to do with the amount of money that they had saved, or the life that they had lived, or what they were going to do moving forward. I simply was in charge of taking these pieces, arranging them, structuring them in such a way that it allowed them to do something different. And for them, it was this goal that they never imagined possible of retiring. And I'll never forget that day of the tears and the hugs afterwards. And now they are so happy, enjoying time with family and traveling, doing all of these things that they literally never thought that they would be able to do. So that's probably one of the most impactful stories of gratitude for me.
How many seconds did it take for them to say thank you?
To say thank you?
Yeah.
Oh, it was immediate. I mean, right? The tears came, so did the praise, or not the praise, the gratitude. What
I think is amazing is if they could have just been like, oh, that's amazing, and celebrated amongst themselves. Instead, they expressed gratitude to you, which brought you into the moment. Absolutely. And it impacted your life.
For sure, forever.
Yeah. So for you, my last question for you is, if there's anyone in the universe that could be in front of you right now with you in that room, who would it be if you could thank them for something, and what would you say to them?
So there's two people, and I try to do this daily because there's no one else I would thank. My mom and my wife. They are the most impactful people in my life. I try to tell them every single day I'm grateful for them. My mom we have a very special relationship. We went through a divorce when we were younger, and so her and I kind of became best friends.
Mm.
And we have a relationship that I don't think many people have with, a parent. And so grateful for what she's done. And more than anything, she's been there every step of the way in my life. I know no matter what I do, I could tell her, hey, Mom, I'm going to go to the moon tomorrow. And she's going to be like, yes, you are. You're going to be awesome at it. And then she's going to go tell everybody about it too. And so I try to thank her every single day for the sacrifices that she made, for the relationship that we have. And then the second person is my wife. She is literally my best friend, and she supports every crazy idea, every crazy thought I have. And she's like the most amazing person, mother, friend in the entire world. And she takes care of our kids in such a way that it allows me to think about other stuff than worrying about what's going on at home or with our kids, because I know she's got it covered. And I know that once again, I can come back to her and I can say, hey, I'm going to start a podcast, and it's going to take up a bunch of my time, and I'm going to make no money at it. And she's going to not only support it, but she's going to say, what can I do to help? And so those would be the two people that I try and do every single day. I try to tell them thank you, and I will continue to do that.
That is so important. I love that you do it every day and that you think about them and thank them. Do you have any advice for those who are watching, if you could just leave them with something from Andrew Van Buren?
You can do anything you want, but it takes action. So any crazy idea you've had, Mel Robbins, in her book, The 5-Second Rule, calls it the 5-second rule, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and then just do something. If you ever have a thought, an idea, specifically with gratitude, if there's ever a time where you feel like, oh, I should say thank you to this person, or hey, I should reach out to so-and-so, just do it. You never know what that person is going through, what's happening. You never know what one small act will do for someone else or for your life. And so my goal in life is to get people to act.
Thank you so much. And how can people get in touch with you if they want to hire you as their financial coach, or, listen to your podcast?
So easiest way, podcast is the Nitty Gritty. You can find us on any podcast host, Apple, Spotify, anywhere. We're getting new to the social media world. So Nitty Gritty Show on Instagram. We try to have some fun stuff and some quotes there. As far as the financial stuff, my website is aventuswealth.com. And another easy way to find me is just on LinkedIn. So reach out on LinkedIn. Love to chat with you, point you in the right direction if I'm not the right fit. But thank you for having me. I love what you're doing. I love that you're talking about gratitude and giving people the opportunity to talk about how important it is, because I believe that it is something that we kind of take for granted. And something my coach told me is you have to make the implicit more explicit, meaning we always assume that people know that we appreciate them, that we're grateful for them, but why not tell them more? So I love what you're doing. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you. And I appreciate all that you had to say. It's extremely impactful, and I'm going to be using it today to thank my husband.
Okay.
Well, have a fabulous day.
Thank you.
And don't forget, everybody, that it's never too late to say thank you to anyone and everyone that has done something for you, or just because. Ciao.